Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're going to be going over multiplication and division with integers. And as we'll see, the rules for multiplication and division are completely different than for addition and subtraction, but that's okay. They're different operations. So one thing that is fortunate, though, is that in a way the rules are simpler, even though they are different. So the plan is to go over the rules and see some examples. So we're going to start with multiplication. So to get started with multiplication, we're going to think about how multiplication can be used to represent repeated addition. So for example, when you write something like 5 times 13, you can think of this that we're going to be adding up 13s, and we're going to be adding them up 5 times, right? There's 5 add-ins of 13, and that makes 65, right? But one number tells us what we're adding, the other number tells us how many of that number we are adding together. So when you have 3 times -4, you could look at this as saying that we're adding together -4 3 times. So -4 plus -4 plus -4, we know from the last section is going to be -12. And of course, 3 times 4 means we're adding together 3 positive 4s, and that would equal +12. Taking a look at the pattern, it looks like when we multiply a positive number times a negative number, we got a negative answer. When we multiply together two positive numbers, we got a positive answer. So while a couple of examples don't prove anything, it is at least suggestive, and we'll base our ultimate conclusion on that. If we were concerned, of course, on this, if our first number was negative, what if it was -3 times +4? Okay, now the front number is negative. Well, still we could look at this as that we're adding together -3s, and we're going to add together 4 of them. And still, we're going to obtain -12 for that. Okay, so far it's looking like if we multiply a number that's negative times a number that's positive, we get a negative answer. The one case that people usually find really confusing is what if we're multiplying a negative number times a negative number. So we want to go ahead and address that now. Okay, all right, so again, with an example that will kind of illustrate. So we know that 0 times any number is going to equal 0. So for example, if you multiply 0 by -4, you should get 0, right? Multiplying 0 by anything should give you 0. So what we'll do is we're going to rewrite that 0 as 3 plus -3. We know that adding a number and its opposite also gives you 0, right? Well, adding 3 plus -3 gives you 0. Okay, and then the distributive property is true. So we're going to multiply 3 times -4, and we'll also multiply -3 times -4. Okay, so we have 0 is equal to 3 times -4 plus -3 times -4. And based on our earlier work, we know that 3 times -4 is going to be -12. And so we have 0 is equal to -12 plus -3 times -4. So then if that's true, which we haven't broken any rules so far, then what do you add to -12 to get 0? Well, what you'd add to any number to get 0 would be its opposite. And so that suggests that -3 times -4 would be +12. And in fact, it is. Of course, there was nothing really magical about the fact that we used 3s and 4s through here, but we just used specific numerical examples just to make it a little easier to follow. So the conclusions, basically, it looks like if we multiply together two positive numbers, we're going to get a positive answer. If we multiply together two negative numbers, we get a positive answer. You multiply a negative by a positive or a positive by a negative, you're going to get a negative answer. In short, if you have the same signs among the factors, you get a positive product. If you have different signs among the factors, then you're going to have a negative product. Okay? And that's how multiplication works. Notice that for multiplication, we don't have to think about absolute value or which one's bigger or which one's smaller, just how many negative numbers are there or how many positive numbers are there. Okay, for division, again, we're going to look at a pattern, and as we know, multiplication and division are intimately related, and so it's going to have a very similar conclusion. Okay, so let's take a look at 6 and 5. We, of course, know that 6 times 5 makes 30, and so the corresponding division rule then is that 30 divided by 5 is equal to 6. Multiplication, negative 6 times negative 5, we now know is positive 30. So that 30 divided by negative 5 should be negative 6. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. So negative 30 times negative 5, sorry, negative 30 divided by negative 5 is positive 6. And lastly, negative 6 times positive 5 is negative 30, making it so that negative 30 divided by positive 5 gives negative 6. So taking a look then at what happened, we can see that when we are dividing numbers where the two numbers we are dividing were both positive or both negative, we ended up with positive 6 for an answer. And then in the situation where we had a positive divided by a negative or a negative divided by a positive, we ended up with a negative answer. Or in short, if the signs were the same among the numbers we were dividing, if the signs were the same, we ended up with a positive answer. And if the signs were different, we ended up with a negative answer. So that's shown here in the summary. A quotient of positive numbers is positive. A quotient of negative numbers is also positive. And then a quotient of numbers that are different in sign is going to give you a negative answer. In short, it's the same rule for multiplication and division, which is great. If the signs are the same, positive. If the signs are different, negative. All right, so that's virtually all of the instruction for this section. The rest we want to see is examples. So let's take a look at some examples. So negative 4 times positive 8 will be negative 32. Let's just do every other one. Odd numbers. Negative 1 times negative 14 will be positive 14. 269 looks like a typo, so we won't do that. Negative 3 times 9 is negative 27. We have a negative times positive there. And then 272 is going to give you positive 19. 267 will be negative 63. Okay, division, similar or same rules really. A negative divided by a positive will be negative. And then 84 divided by 6 is 14, right? Is it 14? Well, either way, it's positive. Let's see, positive 14. Yeah, it looks like 14. 60 plus 24. Yeah, okay, sorry. 35 divided by negative 7 will be negative 5. And then let's just one more. Negative 52 divided by negative 4 will be positive 13. Okay. If you have any questions on these, let me know. Usually people find multiplication and division easier than addition and subtraction due to the fact that the rules are simpler. In the next couple of examples, we'll see that we have mixed operations. So we're going to do 279, 283, and 282. Let's do, I guess, these yellow highlighted ones. So let's do those. Okay. So here for 279 first, we have a product plus some other product minus a number. So we're going to do the multiplications first. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. And then we're going to add on to that. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Okay, so now the multiplication is done. And so we'll have negative 30 plus negative 14. Now we are adding. Okay, we're adding two negative numbers. We're going to get a negative answer. That's negative 44 minus 3. Negative 44 plus negative 3 is negative 47. Okay. In raising negative numbers to powers, you have to be really careful. It's very easy to get this wrong. Here we have negative 3. It's multiplied by itself 5 times. So we'll have negative 3 as a factor 5 times. And so I know it's negative because there are odd number of negative signs. 3 times 3 is 9. I have a 5 in here. let's fix that. Okay, 9, 27, 81, 243. Okay, this is in contrast to 283, which is negative 4 squared. Remember that according to order of operations, powers go first. This is equal to the negative of 4 times 4, or negative 16. Notice in particular that this is different from negative 4 squared, which would be negative 4 times negative 4. That's positive 16. Notice the presence or absence of parentheses completely changes what the value ends up being. Okay, 285, negative 3 times negative 5 is going to be positive 15. 15 times 6 is 90. Okay, parts in parentheses, 6 minus 11 is negative 5. 8 minus 13, also negative 5. A negative times a negative, that will be positive 25. Okay. A couple more examples. In 292, we have a division plus another division. 52 divided by negative 4, that's a positive divided by a negative. That will be negative, and then 52 divided by 4 is 13. Negative 32 divided by negative 8, a negative divided by a negative is going to be positive, and here it's 4. Negative 13 plus 4 is negative 9. That's the end of that. Okay, let's try 295 next. Now, negative 3 squared, you got to think to yourself, is that 9 or negative 9? We're multiplying negative 3 by its own self. A negative times a negative will be positive. Okay, we're working on the part in parentheses. 8 minus 2 is 6. 9 minus 24 divided by 6. 24 divided by 6 is going to be 4. 9 minus 4 is going to be 5. If you're not getting the same answers as I am doing this, work through them again and double check your work. And if you have any questions or concerns, let me know on those. Okay, more examples to do. In the next part, we're evaluating variable expressions with integers. So let's try 297 first, 301. I just picked those out. Okay, so y plus negative 14. So this one's a sum. Negative 13. Sorry, we have actually negative 33. That's our y plus negative 14. That's negative 47. Okay. I'll just do that first one. Okay, m plus n, we're doing addition again. M plus n when m is negative 15 and n is 7. Negative 15 plus 7 is negative 8. Okay, for 305, we have negative 3 plus 14, and that will be squared. Negative 3 plus 14 is 11. 11 squared is 121. All right, so there was nothing in there for multiplication and division. That's too bad. Maybe the next ones will have something. Yeah, that looks like it does. So let's see what else we've got. Let's try 307 when x is 8. That'll be negative 2 times 8 plus 17. Negative 2 times positive 8 will be negative 16. Negative 16 plus 17 will be 1. Well, this 311 looks fun. Let's do that. 2w squared minus 3w plus 7 when w is negative 2. So we'll have 2 negative 2 squareds minus 3 negative 2s plus 7. Okay, the part in parentheses first. Negative 2 squared is 4. So we'll have 2 times 4. And then negative, or subtraction of 3 times negative 2. And then finally plus 7 in the back. 2 times 4 is 8. And then we're subtracting negative 6. So that's the same as adding positive 6. And don't forget the plus 7 in the back. 14 plus 7, 21. We'll finish with 21 there. That was fun. Let's do another one that's kind of like that. Let's do 313 next. This one is 9a minus 2b minus 8. We're going to replace the a by negative 6, and we'll replace the b by negative 3, and then we have a minus 8 in the back. Okay, 9 times negative 6 is negative 54, and minus 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 54 minus negative 6 is the same as negative 54 plus positive 6. Negative 54 plus 6 is negative 48. Negative 48 minus 8 is negative 54. And no, negative 56. Sorry about that. Okay. And then let's see, let's do one more. Okay, 314, 7m minus 4n minus 2. That's 7 times negative 4 minus 4 times negative 9 minus 2. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. Minus 4 times negative 9 is negative 36. Minus 2. The subtraction of negative 36 will turn into the addition of positive 36. Okay, negative 28 plus 36 is going to be 8. We'll have 8 minus 2, or 6. So these are fun and good practice. Make sure that you're getting a lot of practice at evaluating expressions, that is, substituting values in for variables and then making calculations. Okay, next part and last part has to do with translating from English into math. So, and simplify if possible. Okay, so let's try a few of these. 315 first. The sum of 3 and negative 15 increased by 7. Okay, increased by sounds like addition. So there's that. 3 plus negative 15 is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 7 is negative 5. Okay. The product of negative 3 and 15, product means multiplication. So that'll be negative 3 times 15, which is negative 45. Let's see, subtract and subtract from. You have to be very careful of the word order here. If we start with negative 13 and subtract negative 6 from it, notice that it's not the same order. In the problem, we had negative 6 on the left and negative 13 on the right. When we turn that into an expression, it's the other way around. The negative 13 came first. So pay attention to the word order as you work through these things. Now we'll have negative 13 plus positive 6, and that is negative 7. Let's try another subtraction. Subtract 11 from negative 25. So we're starting with negative 25. We're subtracting 11 from that. And so I'm going to rewrite that as the sum of two negatives. Negative 25 plus negative 11 is negative 36. Okay, we're here to do multiplications and divisions, so let's make sure to do some of those. Let's try 322 next. The product of negative 4 and 16 is going to be negative 64. Quotient means divide. We have the quotient of negative 40 and negative 20. Negative divided by negative, that will give us positive 2. Okay, this looks fun. There's 3 things in here. The quotient of negative 6 and the sum of A and B. So got to be careful with parentheses. Quotient means we're dividing 2 things. What are we dividing? We're dividing negative 6 and what else? The sum of A and B. So you can write it like that. You could also have written it as a fraction with the negative 6 on top and the A plus B in the bottom. That would have been just as good. For 327, we have the product of things, the product of negative 10. We're multiplying by the difference of P and Q. Okay, and let's see. Let's go ahead and finish all these because these are good practice. The difference of 10 and negative 18, difference is a subtraction. Okay, 10 minus negative 18, that's 10 plus 18, or 28. The quotient of negative 60 and negative 20 is going to be 3. The quotient of negative 7 and the sum of m and n. So we can write it this way. We can write it using the divide symbol. Okay, let me make sure I follow the directions on these. We were to simplify, right? I've simplified all the ones that you can simplify. There's 2 more. Let me go ahead and finish these. So we've done all of them. The sum of negative 8 and negative 9 increased by 23. Negative 8 plus negative 9, we're adding together 2 negatives. We get a negative answer. That'll be negative 17. Negative 17 plus 23 will be 6. Okay, last one, the difference of negative 5 and negative 30. So we have to be careful. We're subtracting a negative here. That's negative 5 plus 30, and that's 25. All right, I think that does all of it. This turned out to be a mixture of multiplication and division with negatives, and then also a little review and expansion on addition and subtraction with negatives. Remember, to summarize, that for multiplication, if you're multiplying together 2 negative numbers, you get a positive answer, or 2 positive numbers, you also get a positive answer. If you're multiplying and the 2 factors have different signs, you're going to get a negative answer. For division, the results are similar. If you divide 2 numbers that are the same sign, both positive or both negative, you're going to get a positive answer. If you're dividing 2 numbers that have different signs, you're going to get a negative answer. Okay, so that takes us to the end of section 1.4. Let me know if you have any questions on that, and then have a great day.